Hey, and welcome back to our evening tea. I'm Aaron, this is Anila, and tonight we're going to be talking about the I struggled or suffered, so they should too mentality, which is held pretty highly by many people in our society. So, let's get on with it.
Um, I hear that from a lot of not boomer, like older generations,
Yeah.
that they struggled, they were in a war situation, which was a bigger struggle than what we are dealing with. I've heard from a lot of like my parent generations people usually talking about uh, oh, I used to walk 10 kilometers to get to the school. I used to cross this river and walk and climb a mountain to get to the school. We didn't have school buses like you guys do. Or something like I had to study under the street light uh, at night because we didn't have electricity in the house. But that's something they dealt with. But we have different problems.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So to like tack their problems onto our problems.
which doesn't even exist in today's world.
Their problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they are the ones who tried to eradicate their problems from the world so they don't have to deal with those, and then they expect us to do good because they've eradicated those problems without considering the new problems that were created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or also the idea that they thought they eradicated those problems, and then when we deal with those problems, they're like, "Oh no, don't worry, it's no big deal. We dealt with that too." Like it's like they're dismissing um,
Mm-hmm.
our going through the same thing
Mm-hmm.
because they went through it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a bunch of angles to attack this at. We're gonna get down to that now. So, um, yeah, I think where you started is maybe a middle point that uh, they went through. They eradicated some issues,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have new issues which arose partially or possibly from what they did to eradicate their issues.
Mm-hmm.
And they say like, well, this is where I was going with that, which I think takes us kind of back to the title topic, is that the problems that we have now, based on, well, the problems we have now are no big deal. It's nothing. It pales in comparison to what they went through.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what, like, I guess that's not the title topic, but that is something that I always think of when I think of this situation or that topic. The I suffered, so you should too.
Mm-hmm.
I always think of like how they also dismiss our struggles.
Mm-hmm. It's also from younger generations too. It's not just from older generations. From younger generations too. It's like, oh, like
Backwards,
things.
like,
Yeah. It's like, oh, how the tables have turned. So when like, Medicare is so bad, so which basically is to help older people. A lot of Medicare recipients are older, so which is bad, for which they have to struggle. Like they are having to go back to work. Some of them, not all of them, but uh, and then like younger generations are like, not respecting them in like
in their struggle.
in their jobs. All the jobs have gone so fast paced. It just like creates more divide between the generations instead of understanding that they have little lesser energy, but they're still doing it. Instead of being nice about it, you just like, some people mock them, like, oh, look at them at this age, they have to work. Or I feel like like with mock come also like pity, also kind of feels like mocking, like pitying someone in their situation. And that's probably why I don't share some of my struggles, because I feel like people will pity me, which basically feels like they're mocking me.
Yeah, I think it can I guess it can feel like that.
It happens both ways. Like younger generations are fighting for increase in minimum wage, but older generations are voting against it because they haven't seen the problem, and then they have to go into a minimum wage job where they're getting paid less and having to do more. And then younger generations are, see how the tables have turned, so you should vote better. If you were like more nicer, more understanding, it probably would be a little different. Like understanding the struggles and what people are fighting for. It's have you ever wondered, it's always like younger generations fighting for rights throughout history,
and then older generations
are set in their ways.
So yeah, I've heard before that like people say you'll get more conservative when you get older.
Yeah,
things like that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it is the struggle or them fighting for the rights, not getting anywhere, thinking that it's not going to get anywhere, so you guys shouldn't fight for them, just work hard so you can go somewhere.
I don't know. I think it changes anyways. Like the landscape of our struggle changes anyways. Like I think what we're fighting for when we're younger, a lot of that stuff is, well, I don't know. I was going to say, well, some of it changes, some of it stays the same, some of it completely goes away, at least in our vision. So the whole landscape changes, and then like, I don't know. I guess conservative is also like a very vague term, because it could be used for a lot of different things. Like you want things to go back to how they used to be, or you want things to stay the same. Those are two totally different things.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like for most people it's harder to see other people's struggles when they're not struggling.
Yeah, that's definitely something that...
Yeah, hard to fight for someone's struggles when you can't relate to it. It's always like people start fighting for things when their closer relative gets affected.
Well, most people. There's what's the term for this? For allyship, but like disconnected allyship, like you have nothing to do with it, but you're still an ally of their struggle. That exists too. But I think most people do, like they only care about it when they've been affected, or someone they know has been affected. Yeah. Or something they can understand is happening. That's probably what it is.
You have to relate to it.
Yeah. You have to at least understand what's happening. And usually the understanding comes with relation.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, especially when the media is like so targeted, um, based on age. Um, it's like really easy to make the division more. Like instead of um like the headlines would be like millennials don't understand the struggle. Millennials focus too much on their emotions. I feel so hypocritical to talk about it when I feel like you and I are from totally different generations because of where we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you are from the more emotional generation and I am from the more uh, different generation where emotions were not given so much importance.
Yeah, true. Yeah, my generation was very much like emo started with my generation.
Yeah, I don't
When
feel
we were
like that's
kids.
ever like I don't know if it's even today I see like kids in India totally growing up. I guess it's the cultural too. Like
It's
in that
mostly culture
yeah, in that
difference.
culture, um, education is placed of high importance more than talking about emotions or anything. And like making money is placed of high importance and that is like hard work is converted into better grades,
Mm-hmm.
which is not true.
We have hard work is converted into more money.
It's still
Something we
like that's
always
the
heard.
same thing as like
Yeah.
hard work is converted to better grades, which gets converted into
To
more money.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, our yeah, I guess generations. Well, the struggle, the generational understanding, like the understanding everyone in this generation has, is really like a complete bullshit thing because in different cultures it's all different. Like this generation in a war torn country right now in the world has nothing to do understanding wise as this generation in this country
Yeah,
or
definitely.
another
Yeah.
country
It is
that's better
yeah.
off.
Especially here where there are a lot of people. It's like a melting pot where there's people from so many different countries. It shouldn't be generalized.
Yeah, that's the word for it, generalization. It's
Yeah, yeah, like stereotypical generalization.
Of what the generation goes through. So like to say when back to the title of this video, like we struggled so you should too, like in terms of a generational thing, like yeah, how can like the let's say I don't know, people born in the 80s versus people born in the 40s versus people born in 2000. How can what they're going through related to what the other one is going through have yeah, it's super like how can you make that generalization when what the other one's going through could be from somewhere else or could have gone through something totally different.
Yeah.
I struggled so they should too, but they have their own struggles and they don't need to go through your struggles.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Like how you started this video, like we had to work so hard in school, we had to cross rivers and walk 10 miles, but like this generation they didn't get to go to school because their
in the war.
Infrastructure's in shambles because they're in war. Yeah, and how can you say like? That's nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, there's no compare. Like if you are doing that, you should compare it with the older generation too. And what I was thinking is like, you know how rich people like they are. I don't know why they do this, but it really isn't much difference because you're giving them with a lot of resources and networking. You don't again have to give your money to them. But imagine if there's like a middle class person who doesn't have any connections and doesn't have any like resources to actually go and make money in this present generation. But then like the parents would be most parents are like, oh, I had to struggle to get all this I have, and I learned the value of the money, and I value for money more now, so I want you to learn it the same way. And it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you can't push struggle on somebody.
Uh-huh.
Or also you can't be desensitized to their struggle.
Yeah.
Or not sympathize with it and be like, no, it's okay. Because it doesn't really, like, you should, that's just not being nice, like 101. Like, to be nice, or to be a kind person, to be what I would consider a good person, is being kind. And to be kind, you can't be like, no, you should struggle. Struggle is not fun. Struggle doesn't do any, like, the struggle that may have gotten them somewhere is not going to work for someone else. It's just unnecessary struggle. Suffering.
Yeah, exactly. Like, some people go through some struggle and they would be like, I would not wish this upon an enemy.
Yeah.
But
someone else would wish it on their
own
kid.
Children. Yeah. It's like yeah. There's this like really sensitive topic related to like military. When like going to military is kind of like is like really advertised to poorer neighborhoods and kids who cannot afford to go to college without taking a loan and those things. And then people who have experienced those things push it on their kids is like, and it's also like going into military when they went to military sometime when there were no wars. It's totally different from going into military when there is war.
Yeah.
And to wish that upon your child is like too much.
Yeah. I don't know how much military families wish or hope that their kid goes to the military.
There is a lot. And people are like proud to be in military.
No, yeah.
And it's like I don't understand what makes that legal and right, but a murderer for like self-defense would get lower punishment, but not totally no punishment. Do they get no punishment?
If it's self-defense, you get no punishment, but you have to go through and get proven that it's self-defense.
Yeah. And yeah. How come
state-sponsored murder?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no real.
Yeah, that's like legal and like you are really held up in like good position because you have been to military. Which I'm not saying that you haven't struggled, but you did struggle and you believed in the mission to fight for the people, so you should be held in good position, but it also affects a lot.
I get what you're saying. I think the people that should be held not in high regard for that are the people that send them to war, and for lack of tact, brainwash them into thinking that it's a worthy mission. Because I don't think the government's officials, the higher ups, really believe that it is doing anything for all these countries to be fighting against each other, killing each other. What is it actually accomplishing? Like, in the grand scheme.
And what it is accomplishing is distracting people
Yeah.
from real issues.
And from
And
unifying
fighting.
with each other.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think like elder military service member, an elder service member who has a kid who is considering the military. I don't know how many, like what I was going back to, I don't know how many elder service members hope their kid joins the military, but I know that they do feel pride when their kid does do that. But I think it's more from the standpoint, like my grandfather was in the military, and I'm pretty sure it's from what I experienced, it's that they'd be proud for what you believe in when you join it. Like, I don't think anyone is just like, oh, they joined the military, that's it, with like a empty-minded, yes, they're doing the thing, they're gonna go kill people, I'm proud of that.
But they're going to be proud of.
They're gonna be proud of like this. My child believes in this grand thing, and they're even willing to put their life on the line, and maybe even have to kill someone for it,
or die for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there is no real need for it.
Yeah,
like,
but that's on
that
the
can be diplomatically.
Yeah, that's definitely on the people that are sending them to war, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like the whole, it is just ridiculous that 1%, the dictator kind of thing, and it's also ridiculous even if it is 1% of the people. It doesn't matter if it's 1% or 1% of the people who are making, like 0.01% of the people. That's still a lot of people making the choice, but they're also like-minded, and they're not really putting their lives at risk. They are putting everyone else's life at risk, and you just have to follow it because there are going to be repercussions if you don't follow it. And it might not be direct, it might be indirect, but there's like so many things. That's like a really deep topic.
Yeah, a whole other topic.
Yeah.
We do that for for those new to the podcast. We do that. We go on tangents, but there'll be future topics for sure on those things.
Yeah.
But
coming back to struggle, it probably is not in the military, it probably is not, I struggled, so the next generation should struggle.
Yeah, it's usually not. From what I've experienced, people I've seen,
it's pride,
it's never that.
Because of the mission they believe in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But, yeah. The whole, like, not understanding the inflated market and the amount of money it needs to like survive and have kids, like survive, like so there is a difference between surviving and thriving. And like living, like in today's life, I feel like if you can't meet your survival, it's really hard to thrive.
Yeah. It's impossible.
Yeah,
and at least in this
survival is impossible on minimum wage, even if you're working 80 hours.
And I think that comes from like the fact that it's impossible to thrive if you can barely survive. Like if you're working 80 hours minimum wage, I think it comes from that whole mess of the generations.
They messed up,
saying you should suffer too if we had to.
Yeah. But they did not suffer the same way.
Not in that way.
Yeah.
But they say like, oh, I had to work through college to pay for college. I had to.
But then you did not come out of college with huge college debt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard to understand. So the problem is, as you grow older, your income grows, and it catches up with the inflation. But then you relate that to having that much experience, is why you're making that much money, not you're already being actually taken advantage of at that age. Like but you want, so having the experience makes you feel entitled to that pay, so you want everyone else to make less, start at much lower pay so they can catch up to you. It takes longer for you to catch up, for them to catch up. But what they're not understanding is there is inflation too.
Yeah.
With your raise in salary, because most of the older generation stayed at one job for so much longer, their salary didn't catch up so much with the amount of inflation that's happening. And they also bought houses and everything at really low money, and they feel justified that what they're making is because of their experience, and they should be making that. And because they've earned through all that experience, younger generations start really low and move up without considering the economic conditions today and back in the day. And the really low wage.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's in so many different scenarios where, like, we should want people to thrive. But I feel like so many, like a large majority of pretty much every population on Earth believes that if they're not thriving, no one else should thrive. And I mean, there's one piece of that is true. The rest is complete, like, just being mean. The piece that's true is that if even one person on Earth is suffering, no one else is truly 100% thriving. So it's, but to wish that on each other is a whole different story. Like, yeah, I think we're as a human race doing a lot wrong, but a huge disservice to ourselves, even, not to mention each other, by not promoting thriving.
Yeah.
Even to, like, our enemies, even.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, everyone should thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah. The saying is so true. Like, even daily struggle, I don't wish upon my enemy.
Yeah.
Like, even, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. And one thing is, as a society, most people tend to respect based on job titles and the lifestyle people have. Like, it might be inflated, but, like, they might be having a bigger lifestyle than they can afford, but you respect them when they have that lifestyle. And then when, like, take for example, any, like, scammer. Okay. The ones who got the respect and, like, got, like, Sam Banksman.
Okay.
He probably didn't expect it, but then, like, he was respected so much. Like, people, a lot of YouTubers, influencers were making videos about him about how nice he is, how young he is, doing so many good things, and like he was getting so much respect, and like and then he was also living inflated lifestyle, but like two-faced. In the media, he was someone um, who is driving Toyota Camry or Corolla, one of those old Toyota, like 20,000 Toyota, and he is like helping other people with his mission. His mission is to help people, and he's getting all that respect and being held, and he's part of this like Forbes 30 under 30, and then it all came crashing, and nobody respects him now, and everyone talks shit about him. Instead, I think few people need to reevaluate why that person got to that point instead of talking shit about it then. And then like people are just going to try to cover things up so they don't get talked shit about.
Well, do you think that he, the reason people are talking bad about him now is because, and not then, is because they believed him?
They believed the story he was painting.
Yeah.
And people are respecting him because he had a lot of money. He made a lot of money really young. And that's something people like talk about, like, oh, the youngest millionaire, the youngest billionaire, he made so much money, and he's only 26.
Are you saying that like people need to, since that is apparently not true, they need to reevaluate what they think is
need to be
possible for that age to do, like,
yeah, and also like reevaluate how you, as a society, I feel like as a society they can stop that from happening. It's not it's not like he is the only one who did it. He had a whole company behind him.
Yeah.
If the whole company actually tried to do the right thing, even with repercussions from him, they could have stopped it. But as a society, they inflated what he was doing and making it seem like he has to continue doing it so he can stay in that position where he's respected. And then I feel like it's not just his fault. It's so many people involved in it, their faults. And it's always like it's like people are really promising. And isn't when you're young is when you learn, but then your whole life gets taken away from you doing one mistake, getting carried away.
That's weird.
Yeah. And then
and of course that is a whole issue, like with minorities in this country, or people of color, and how and specifically Black people are incarcerated at a crazy high rate, right, compared to white people. And it's usually when they're young, and they never have a chance to grow and learn from their mistakes. And a lot of them are incarcerated like for life, or for way too long. So like that is the time when you make a mistake that you should be rehabilitated, taught
and
what you can do better,
it is
released back to the world freely, so you can see it in a real situation and figure it out.
Right. And it is like so high in one race, and like the incarceration is so high in one race at young ages and the other, like the majority race, usually gets a second pass.
Yeah,
at it.
I would say
Just
at
for
this
being-
point it's not so much because they're right now the majority race. I think it's because they're right now the race with more money and the race that has historically been in majority and with money.
which
So
made them more in power.
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, the powerful
though
more in
they're-
power race
yeah,
right now
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. I think that if like the crimes that black people and brown people in general, like, I mean, there's so many Hispanic people in jail too,
And Middle Eastern and
Middle Eastern too. Yeah, it's they're basically it. Of course, there's some like, I don't know, white or like European, whatever, that race. There's some of them in jail for similar things. They probably honestly get lower sentences on average. But that aside, the crimes that what the same crime looks like for the two different races, it ends, because of the amount of money that they each have, it ends up looking a lot worse for the minority races, black and brown. So like theft looks really bad for like doing the same thing for a black or brown person as opposed to a white person.
Yeah.
So
because there are more businesses owned by the majority people, and the way the law is, the wage theft is not really theft, and they do not get, like, you literally cannot even sue them if you don't have a case, and you can only sue them with an attorney general, and attorney generals usually don't take those cases unless it is like a huge deal, like unless it is like a lot of people get affected in a lot higher amount of money. This whole like trying to be the powerful is really doing so much harm. I feel like even minorities, some of them, when they get into the power, they are not doing enough to help the other minorities. Fight me on it. But I feel like they just like, there is this power struggle, and then they get to the power and they do everything.
They mesh in.
They mesh in. There is like very little they do, but which is expected, because democracy, you need 50% or more people to agree with you for you to get that thing done, even though it is the right thing to do. Like, that's a topic for another day. But
so is the one one crime looking the same or different for different people. That's also a topic for another day. But I mean, here's something though relating to that. No black parent who has been in jail for 20 years for whatever, like aggravated
they
theft,
wouldn't wish it upon,
they wouldn't wish it upon their kid. So
they're actually terrified. I feel I guess that is a bigger struggle. And so I feel like the people who talk about struggle, they struggled, so you should too equate the struggle to the reason why they're
to the success.
Yeah.
So I mean, there could be, I mean, theoretically there could be someone who's been incarcerated for a number of years who's like,
but
well, then my kid should go through it
I
so
don't
that they
think
can come
so.
out
I don't
this
think-
strong.
I-
So
but
the
that-
problem is the incarceration. Like jail in this system is so backwards and not rehabilitating that nobody would ever think nobody in their right mind would be like, this was good for me.
yeah.
It's never good
It's
for
not.
someone.
It's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
Like you go to jail for 5 days, and then when you come back, your whole life is like upside down.
Yeah. Plus you have the record.
Yeah,
And
you have the
everything's
record, so
changed
you
for
can,
your
and
futures.
the record is like you can. I mean, it's legal for companies to request background check,
Yeah.
and so you have to disclose all those information,
Mm-hmm.
and you lose jobs, even though it wasn't something that was a major crime.
Yeah. Would someone that did a great job at their corporate position of cutting costs by chopping hours, or like having people work overtime for free, would they not get their next job?
No, they would probably
they'd
get
a
the
raise
job.
and get a job, whereas someone who went and stole, like, saw a $20 bill on the table as they were walking out and grabbed it real quick from a multi-million-dollar corporation and got caught on the way out
And got killed.
or got killed. But if they went to jail for it, they're not gonna get their next job.
Yeah, basically law is for the rich and
Law is
powerful.
for the rich.
Yeah, that is a topic for another day,
Yeah.
because there is so much to talk about in there. But yeah, related to struggle. What I really wanted to talk about is people understanding different generations have different struggles. When you were talking about people born in 80s, people born in 2000s, people born in 60s have different struggles. I feel like people born in 60s, by the time like technology got to the point where jobs are affected because you don't know something or whatever. Not 60s, like people born in 40s.
Like they can't do the job because they can't work a computer type thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they were like the most experienced at that point. They can say, I don't want to learn. I'm not learning.
Oh yeah.
Up to a certain point, like, and it was fine. But it is a struggle for the people born in 60s or 70s, because even though they did not grow up with it, they have to learn to do the job.
Yeah.
There is no, because they don't have the experience to, so there is like, these people are struggling to learn. It's not the same.
Yeah. It's the me attitude. Actually, that I think I just hit a point in my mind that the wanting other people to struggle because you struggle thing comes from a I don't want to struggle as much mentality. Like, because if the other person's struggling, then it technically is easier for you than it was for them. And everyone's super selfish, or not everyone, but most people. Our society is a selfish society where like most people want their life to be easier than the next person. So it's funny. It's like actually opposite.
Yeah, I just realized that I like to hear about people's struggles. Like when
for like inspiration?
Not for inspiration, for feeling like I'm not alone.
Oh yeah.
Everyone is going through the same struggle.
Yeah.
I guess if people just shared what they're going through, it would really help. So because I see like these like really amazing women doing like great things and being amazing at like public speaking and doing their job and doing so many things at the job and outside, like being like these perfect people. I'm like, I can never be that. But to know that they feel that too, when they see someone with more experience, I feel like it makes me feel like they go through that too.
Yeah.
So I
get
can
what
push
you're
forward
saying.
and
Like we're all in the same boat, and
yeah. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't share my tips that I've learned through experience with someone younger who is struggling. I would definitely want to make their life easier.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be like, no, I struggled and I experienced this. That's how I learned this. I'm not sharing this with you. So I would definitely want their life to be made easier.
I wonder how many people actually withhold information on purpose rather than just the amount of people that are like, well, it's out of my hands anyways, and if they struggle, then they struggle, and it'll be good for them. I wonder if it's like a justification or like reckoning thing, like just so they can feel better about not being able to do something. They're just like, well, it'll be good for them, hands off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, people are really complicated. You can't
Can't generalize or put them in a
and
in
you
a box.
can't create all the networks or scenarios and then work through them. You literally have to
go person to person, see their whole.
Yeah.
That's something we're finding in this podcast. That seems to be something we hit every single episode. Like,
it's
well,
like,
some people actually probably is. Yeah.
We can't even generalize that. There is that mentality some places, but we can generalize and get to the bottom of why. Or
because it's not something everyone does.
Or does for the same reasons. It's either that they don't understand the whole picture. Or they want to feel respected and powerful, and stay in that. I see that a lot where like people feel like if they share the information which helps them in their jobs will be eliminated or they'll catch up, and then but this is real. People feel that and that happens in reality. So you can't really say they shouldn't feel that because they have all reasons to feel that.
It's the whatever pits us all against each other
is the big power,
is the problem. The big
that
problem
is the big corporate problem. Like
the thing hanging over everyone's head is that power, and that seems to be the problem here. Everywhere. That I think I would say the craving for power is the problem, but I think it's more whatever created the craving for power, that's a total another like 5 topics, but either like evolution or if someone just woke up one day and they're like, I want power. But anyways, we're gonna wrap it up. Right? Thank you for joining our evening tea. If you have anything to contribute to this episode, feel free to leave a comment below. We'll see it. We'll incorporate it into future episodes. And with that,
see you next time.
see ya.
Bye.
Bye.